Hello and welcome back to another episode of Usagi Podjimbo, an Usagi Yojimbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike, and we are on episode 2. This is so cool. Thank you to everybody who took the time to listen to episode 1 and give me some feedback. And so, a little bit, I guess, backstory or stuff that's happened since episode 1 came out. Uh, I have been a part of an Usagi Yojimbo Facebook group for quite some time. I don't post in it. I was like sort of like lurk and linger and look at everything that everybody's done and posted. And I posted my podcast in there to be like, hey guys, I did this. Check it out, please. So a nice guy named Felix, if you're listening, thank you for listening. He said that um, he noticed that I was a little confused with the reading order for Usagi Yojimbo, so he actually gave me the reading order for Usagi Yojimbo, and with the other stories that I mentioned before prior, we will get to those eventually. I gotta go get the trade because some of them are missing in that reading order that are in this trade that I have, but I'm going to go track down and find the trade that has the first couple of stories in it, which if I remember correctly, this has one of them in it, but there's a couple that aren't in it. But let's get into this. I'm going to say thank you, anyways, for listening, and thank you for letting me know exactly what the reading order is for Usagi Yojimbo. And I'm sorry if we're not doing it in the correct order, but I did finish this trade, Volume 1 of Usagi Yojimbo Origins, uh, and uh, it's really good. I'm going to say that right now. It's really good. But we're going to get into Samurai Part 3 and Part 4, and then we're going to go on from there and do more of it, because this is Usagi's origins to become a samurai, which we will get into. Uh, and we start off with, if you don't remember, Usagi had a duel, and we learned a little bit more about Usagi's backstory and how he found his sensei and whatnot. And we start this issue off with Usagi and Gen talking, and Usagi says that he wants to go report uh, the duel, and Gen says, "I'd like to see Genshin." Oh no, sorry. Usagi says, "I'd like to see Genshin properly buried," and uh, Gen says that's such a bother, and he wouldn't have done the same much for you, you know. And we go on from there to more of the backstory, because I think Gen, in reality, even though he doesn't like to show it, I think he likes Usagi, and um, I feel like Usagi has hooked him with his story, with his backstory of becoming a samurai and how he learned how to use the sword and stuff. Because Gen just goes, and it looks like he's getting like I want to say it's like an apple or a tomato off of a tree, and he's like, "Yeah, tell me more of this story that we get from Usagi." And so we transition back in time to Usagi and Katsuchi. Hope I said that right. Katsuchi are walking along in the mountains, and we see young Usagi. He finally has his practice sword, because he did actually land a strike on Katsuchi, the last issue, actually. And uh, all Usagi wants to do is become a skilled samurai, and he wants to fight, and and going off to war and dueling. And Katsuchi says, "You're such a fool. The sword is not just a weapon. It's also a mirror. It reflects your soul, the soul of the samurai. It is the soul of the samurai." He says, it's the blade is it's the blade just it can be transferred, and I guess used by the samurai. Sorry, it can't be transferred, it's tarnished. I can't read. He can be the blade can be tarnished by the way the samurai uses it. And you don't want to uh tarnish your blade, because that's bad news, according to Katsuki. And Katsuki tells Usagi, as Usagi's playing around and stuff, he's like, you got to keep your soul on guard and clear. Remember, a true samurai does not look for a fight. And as Usagi is like going and swinging his sword, he's like hiya, hiya, hiya. And then they run into some other samurai show up, and they've basically chose the bandit path, and they are going to try to steal uh, Usagi and Katsuki's stuff, and we see there's about like 5 or 6 of them. They're coming out of the brush. They're like, "Hey, old man and kid, give us all your stuff," basically. And Usagi says, "Oh, these guys look familiar." And Usagi happens to know these people. They are no good, cutthroat, bad guys who his father threw out because his father was a magistrate, and he throws them out, and they all they caused was trouble, and that doesn't go over so well in the bad guys. I like to call him One-Eyed Cat Guy. And so One-Eyed Cat Guy, because he has a big old scar over his face, that's what I'm going to call him. I don't think he actually gets a name, but One-Eyed Cat Guy has a score to settle with Usagi and his family for what his dad did to them, throwing them out and I guess dishonoring them as samurai. And old little Usagi, he he's like, "This is my teacher. His name is Katsuki. He's basically gonna kick your butt." And you see the bad guys are like, "Ah, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, okay. What's this old guy gonna do? You talk a big game, kid. Like, come on, what's this guy gonna do?" And Katsuki basically says, "Look, if you're hungry, you're looking for something. Here's our lunch. Just leave us in peace." And they take all the rice balls that they have, and they start eating, and they're like, "Oh, so much for your fearless teacher, kid." And they they start laughing at him and munched on the rice balls. And the main bad guy, the cat guy, he's like, "Don't act so tough, old man. Don't act so tough. Remember, you're outnumbered." And uh, Usagi likes to talk a big game, I feel like, at this point in his life. And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, little Katsuki's the best swordsman ever." And Katsuki basically tells Usagi to basically shut up. We don't need no trouble right now. But Usagi's getting himself into some serious trouble at the moment. So we move on from there, and we see Mr. Bad Cat Guy. Mr. Bad Cat Guy says, "Hey, if you're the best in the world, like this little piece of shit bunny rabbit kid says, demonstrate your skills, demonstrate your skills." And Usagi says, "Ha, this there aren't skills. There's nothing that he can't pass. And so this is what they do. Uh, so bad cat guy, as we'll call him, one-eyed bad cat guy. He ends up telling one of the other ones who's stuffing his face, and he's like, "Hey, give me the pickled plum off your rice ball." And so he takes Usagi hostage, and basically he's like, "I'm gonna fucking slit this kid's throat. I'm gonna slit his throat if you don't show us exactly how." And right now, show us how you can cut this pickled plum off of Usagi's nose. And Usagi looks like a little clown with a big old black nose. It looks kind of cute and adorable, but Usagi is freaked out, obviously. And he's like, "You gotta," the bad guy's like, "You gotta save his life. You have to save his life." And Katsuki's like, "Release the boy." And the bad guy is clearly sweating, getting more and more mad. And he's like, "No, draw your sword, old man. Cut the plum. Cut it, I say." And he's like, cut it out, cut it out, cut it out. And you see, "Oh, sensei." And I like this the way Stan Sakai does like the motion with like a sword or something. He does like a line, like a loopy line thing that he does to simulate like motion instead of like um your normal lines that you would see in like anime or manga or something like that. Speed lines. He does like this really interesting technique that he likes. I think he does well. And I like the way it looks in this action sequence that we're going to be getting. So old man Katsuki basically whips out his sword, cuts the air, towards the bad guy Usagi, and they're like, "What? You missed? What's going on?" And I like this scene because I like how he portrays dying or death in this comic book. So they're kind of confused, and then the cat guy, like, kind of makes a funny face, and like this weird bubble shows up, and like it's almost like, in anime when your spirit leaves your body, like a character's spirit will leave their body. Well, it's kind of like a thought bubble, and then like a skull shows up to indicate that they're dead, which I really like. I think it's a fun little touch that they have going on in this comic. And so the other thugs, they get scared and they run off, and Usagi is like, "Hey, don't don't we need to go get them?" And Kitsuki's like, "No, let him be, let him be. The others are harmless without their leader. A samurai does not kill when there is no need. Didn't you learn that today, Usagi?" And he's like, "Yes, Sensei, I did learn that. I did. But I can't get this plum off my face." He's like, "Speaking of which, it's still stuck to my nose. Can you get it off?" And Katsuki does like a quick swipe at it. Yeah, and he actually is able to cut the plum off of Usagi's nose, which is a pretty fun little scene that we get in this panel. And so uh, Usagi is telling Gin this story, and um, of what happened with the bandits and whatnot. And Gen's like, "Ha, you call that skill, cutting a plum off of a kid's nose? I can do better. Here, put this seed on your nose and I'll cut it off." And this part ends with Gen getting a a vegetable or an apple. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Uh, to the back of the head. Then we continue on to part four, where Gin is talking to Usagi, and he's like, "Yeah, so I've learned about your unorthodox sword training, but tell me exactly what the story is behind uh, Guni Gunichi and the samurai duel that you had. I need to know exactly what happened. You can't leave me hanging, obviously, because Usagi is a pretty good teller of tales." And he's like, "Yeah, well, there was this one time where me and my sensei, we basically entered into a tournament for the Dogra, or the Dogra, the Dogra, I think they're called. Yeah, the Dogara, I think. Yeah, fencing school, and they went to the mountains to go compete in this fencing school. So Usagi and Katsuki are traveling to the Dogra fencing school tournament that they're going to enter, or more specifically, Usagi is going to enter, and Usagi has told us, the viewers and Gin, that he has officially been with Katsuki for about 4 years now, and that he is learning in his mastery as a samurai. So Usagi and his sensei show up to the tournament, and we see a fox. Um, I think he's a samurai as well. I think he works for the Dogra school, the Dogra school, and he's like, "Oh, why is Katsuki here? Wasn't he disgraced and he stopped teaching? Why is this guy here? I don't like this guy. He's a piece of shit, basically." And this is where the tournament is held, and we get this funny scene. He's like, "Bah," where his name is Jimbei, and Jimbei obviously has history with Katsuki and doesn't like him. And he's like, "You don't even have a school. You're a renegade." And Katsuki's like, "This is my student. This is my student right here. I got a student. His name's Miyamoto Usagi, and well, Jinbei's like, well, we're sponsoring this fencing school tournament, and we refuse to let you compete. And Katsuki's like, okay, uh, if you say so. And he goes to talk to the people who are above Jinbei, and he's like, yeah, you're in. Okay, let's do this. You're in, and you can go compete in this tournament. And I guess nobody likes Katsuki because they were like, well, we have to let him in. We have to let his school in because if we don't, it'll look poorly on us. And we can't have that. We can't have our school look poorly upon. So they let the renegade in. And so they start the tournament and they're like, yeah, so if whoever wins basically gets two swords, like two matching swords, a wakashashi and a katana. And they're like, yeah, if you win if you get this, you know. And Katsuchi tells Usagi, he's like, okay, this is your first match. This is your first match. This is your first tournament. Remember, cockroach. Remember what I taught you. So the last time he was a potato bug. Now Usagi is officially upgraded to a cockroach, which is, I guess, it's good to see Usagi be upgraded in the nickname game. And he's like, okay, remember my teachings. Remember my teachings. Katsuki says. And he's like, yes, Sensei. Samurai follows the Bushido code. Honor is above all things. And he's like, it's a technique and spiritual strength that counts. Winning is unimportant. He's like, good. And if you don't win, you'll beat me to a pulp. So I guess Katsuki is a little. He doesn't mean what he says, you know. Winning, I guess, is everything. And he's like, excellent, you have learned well. So we officially start the tournament, which is a pretty cool thing to witness. So we get this pretty cool montage of fight scenes with Usagi and other participants in the tournament. And Usagi says, you know, oh, my first tournament, the day was easily won. As the days um as the days wore on, I defeated all my opponents, making my way up the ranks. Also undefeated was my old comrade Kenichi. And he Kenichi eventually, I guess Kenichi eventually joined the Dogra school, and Usagi wanted to watch. He's like, I watched his technique; it was superb. He had learned well, and I guess Usagi seemed like he really wanted to try to fight Kenichi because they do have some sort of a rivalry. And I like the scene where Kenichi has finished his last opponent, and Usagi is game. Usagi is game because because you can see Usagi's eyeballs. When you can see Usagi's pupils, you know Usagi is ready for business. Because usually when you can't see his pupils, he's like little dots on his eyeballs. Um, but Kenichi's master tells him, you are the last chance to uphold the honor of the Dogram school. And he's like, yes, if I fail, I will leave and go back to my village. And he's like, well said. Now hurt this. Uh, now he said, well said. Now hurt this upstart badly. I just gotta say, I mean, weren't they training for the same amount of time? So they should probably be equally matched. But to say that if Kunichi loses, he has to like leave the school, that's a little that's a little like to the extreme. Like it's like, oh my god, like it's almost like that's like the next step is like like committing like seppuku and like killing yourself for dishonoring, you know, yourself and whatnot. I guess I don't know. That's a little extreme in my book, but hey, But the last match starts and we see them, and we get this really cool scene of them fighting. Which I love this scene. It's so cool. which it's just them fighting. And like I said with before, when it comes to action in this comic, you see like little wisps and lines around to give off the effect of them moving. And that's one thing that Stan Sakai does really well is the fluid movement and the way his panels are laid out. um it's really well done, and this fight between Usagi and Kenichi is just breathtaking. It's really good, and it's one of the first full fights, I guess you could say, that we've seen in this particular comic so far. And they congratulate Usagi for winning. His swordsmanship is great, and they commend his teacher and him both. And we meet the Lord Mifune, and Lord Mifune is a tiger. He's a tiger, and he gives him Usagi his swords, which his katana is called Yage no Ida, which means willow branch, and his wakashi is named Oyagi, which means young willow. Which these are cool. I like these swords. These swords are really cool, and yeah, that's where our issue ends. Uh, this episode, not this episode, this issue, these two parts were really cool. I liked seeing Usagi now growing more as a martial artist, as a samurai, learning his samurai technique, and learning lessons. Sometimes it's not the best to always go for a fight, and yeah, this was cool seeing as how nobody respects them in the world of Bushido and stuff, and they happen to take everything from everybody and win, which is cool. And we're gonna continue on uh Usagi's samurai journey. I love this series. This series has become one of my new favorites, and I can't wait to get into the next part with you guys. Yeah, this series just keeps getting better and better as I continue to read it, and yeah, I mean it's cool. It's cool. I like it. It's really well done. In this next issue, it looks like Usagi is actually going to be fighting Gunichi, is it? The boar guy who fought him at the very first issue. So yeah, we're gonna go from there and go into this because it's like an 8-part story. So eventually we'll get finished with the samurai part. I think we might sprinkle in a couple of the one shots throughout to read those and kind of break it up a little bit. But we are gonna go from there, and hope you guys enjoyed. Man, I think it's really cool that I don't know. This has been a fun read. It's been a fun read, and I've really been enjoying it. And I can't wait to share more of Usagi Yojimbo with you guys, and we'll go from there. But thank you for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed. And don't forget to check out my other podcast, Otakuology, where we talk about anime and manga and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys later.